So the billionaire class is petrified of what could come out of the working class. It looks like the potential of civil war. That's what the billionaires are saying. That's what the elite class are saying. And this is the same elite class that continues to perpetuate against the working class populations, that they're continuing to penalize. They're continuing to transform the economy. They're trying to perpetuate the 2030 agenda, which I just watched a documentary on this last night. There's a great one called The Agenda, done by, I think it's called Oracle Films. Not the Oracle that you're thinking of. It's not tied to Larry Ellison by any means, but it was a very thorough documentary. I highly recommend people check it out. And it's actually pretty alarming and scary because these are all the steps that are already happening now. Like, all this great reset, 2030, people think it's like, oh my God, it's going to come. No, it's already happening. It's already happening right in front of our noses. And the further we go down this path, there could be the potentiality of actual uprising because citizens are not going to take this well. They are not going to sit by and let continuation of the destruction of their towns and their cities and societies and their cultures just completely be diminished by these billionaire ghouls. And this caught the attention of CNBC, of all places, because obviously the business networks, obviously their viewership come from elite classes. So CNBC said this is back from October 29th, scared that the civil war between the haves and the have-nots will prevent the rise of trillionaires. I'm glad they got their priorities straight. That they're worried that the Civil War is going to prevent people like Larry Ellison and Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and Elon Musk and George Soros, prevent them from having trillions and trillions of dollars on the disparity and death of the rest of civilization. My God, we can't have progress anymore. Unless we, let some people go. Unless we let the poor diminish and die out. I'm glad CNBC is on the right track of this. But let's hear what they say.
Of course, the Civil War will probably prevent more trillionaires from happening.
Probably.
We're hearing about that more and more. I think Dahlia's spouting that prophecy.
The Civil War's coming?
Just the class struggle because of
not between the North and the South or the Red.
Oh no, between the head. Yeah, exactly. Like let them eat cake, guillotine, Gotham type stuff. Mamdani.
It's true, and at a point where you've got the government shut down, and
right.
That is really
no food stamps for you, but
right.
$1 trillion
in the markets.
I just saw a video of Mamdani from I don't know what year,
a horrible video,
where he literally says that he wants the government to seize the
means of production.
Like actually says it.
Marxism.
Like actually says it.
Communism. Yeah, that's why.
It's only because it's interesting because I talk to people in New York and even people who are supportive of him say, "Oh, Andrew, he's not really a socialist. He's a democratic socialist." And then when you see him say it, he says, "I'm a socialist." This is what you go, "Oh, okay." Of
course, the Civil War.
So that's CNBC. Again, they're petrified mostly because Mamdani in New York City, obviously being the home of Wall Street, that's petrifying them that, oh my God, here's this kind of Muslim socialist that's going to dramatically transform society and how devastating it's going to be. Oh my God, he wants to take the means of production away from the billionaire class. I can't say much about Mamdani because, one, I'm not a New Yorker, so I don't think it's in my purview to discuss about it. And the other measure is the fact that he's running in the Democratic Party. I don't think the Democrats, considering all they went through with Bernie Sanders, when Bernie Sanders, talked about how the 1% have went around tax-free and maybe we should investigate and hold them accountable for not paying their fair share into the tax system. And they went berserk. They went crazy. They called Bernie Sanders a complete communist and how dare he do that stuff. They did that to Bernie Sanders. Do you think they're going to allow Zoran Mamdani to do the same thing in New York City if he's running on the Democratic ticket? Obviously not. Obviously not. So that's why I don't believe that Mamdani is the greater threat that's going to, manufactured the Civil War. But they also made the point that I think is very crucial about the situation that we're in. The government is still shut down in America. People are losing food stamps. And a lot of these people that are on food stamps, people make the argument of like, oh, they're lazy and they're unproductive. And, oh, if you want to eat, you should go and get a job. But, using Bible verses, like it's just absolutely crazy. But a lot of the people on food stamps are actually employed. I don't think people account for that. And a lot of people on food stamps are children. Children. So you're saying that, an 8-year-old should go out and work for child slave labor so that they can afford to nourish themselves? Because that's what Jesus wants, right? Jesus wants the money to be transferred to the trillionaires and the money changers that are purposely exploiting you. That's what God preaches, right? I know it's been a while since I stepped into a church. It's been, years since I've attended Sunday school, but I think I get the gist of it, right? The Bible teaches us to praise, palantir, not actually feed the brethren, feed the poor, the hungry, the needy, all the things that inspired Christian values. And why people preach towards them, why they have a spiritual connection, because it's good towards men, it's good towards all kind. It's just so crazy. It's so crazy. But as the saying goes, there's a popular saying that says you're 3 meals away from a revolution. And now we're seeing the government still shut down, that after all the Doge shenanigans, all the money that claimed that Americans are saving being transferred to the Pentagon, being transferred to the war budget, that they're now advancing more warfare in Venezuela. They're putting more warfare into Ukraine, and they're putting more warfare into Israel. They're allowing the genocide to continue on and not holding them accountable ever. So this is going to lead to some sort of revolution. And I've been saying this throughout, that eventually people are going to be alarmed and woken up to the fact that electorally it does not matter, which is why, again, I don't, Mondomni is not the threat that they think it is, that electorally it's not going to be fixed, that people need to come together coast to coast and actually change how the system operates, that it's going to take initiative, it's going to take grassroots movements. We saw that with the Freedom Convoy. We saw that with the teacher strikes. We saw that with the airline strikes with Air Canada. We've seen that with the shipyard workers when the one guy, I forget his name, the head chief, the head boss of the union, said, we're going to crush you. We're going to pundle you if we don't get a deal set afoot. And it did. They lost a huge amount of money because the shipyard workers actually put pressure onto the billionaire aristocrats. That's what we have to do. We have to put pressure on these people. We have to pressure them for them to understand that labor is necessary to their wealth, that without proper labor, without a strong working class, they cease to exist, that the billionaires cannot lavish in their earnings, in their capitalization, without a strong workforce, without a strong labor force. And because the labor force is being completely disintegrated, and even more so with the AI transformation, this is going to cause havoc. This is going to cause havoc for so many people. And this is what's radicalizing a lot of people. It's radicalizing a lot of people to the fact that, we're paying more money to Israel and Ukraine to facilitate their wars and keep it going. But yet you go to the grocery store and people can't afford basic groceries, basic necessities. We showed you the clip. We showed you a clip of how much coffee and bacon and eggs, basic groceries to feed your families have skyrocketed. And more people realize that, the more it's going to get people together to actually come to some sort of agreement among each other to actually transform and unite and radicalize a movement that could potentially challenge the status quo that has beaten us down for decades. So that's the real situation on foot that CNBC doesn't really want to hinder at. They don't want to expose that because, again, a lot of their viewers, a lot of their supporters are the business elite. So they're trying to fear them, saying, oh my God, there's going to be a civil war because Mondani is running in the New York City mayor race. Not because of all the other shit. Not because of everything that's going on. So that leads to this article. This is from MoneyWise. And this guy, Ray Dalio, sounds alarm over looming civil war in America, claims our power to hurt each other has never been greater. Are you at risk? So this guy, he is a hedge fund billionaire. He's an aristocrat. He's one of the heads of what's the place? Bridgewater Associates. So this is a billionaire that, of course, probably watching CNBC and is gritting his teeth and sucking his thumb to think that, oh my God, I'm not going to be a trillionaire now because the have-nots, the poor class, is realizing how screwed they are when I'm in command. They're realizing the game. They're realizing the scheme, that they're actually smarter than we thought they were. And the propaganda machine is not working. So it goes on to say, it's been more than 160 years since America's last civil war, but billionaire investor Ray Dalio is warning that another one may be brewing. In a recent interview on Leaders with Francie Lacroix, how do you say that? Lacroix. Dalio was confronted with a blunt question. Could we be close to another world war? He didn't hesitate. We are in wars, Dalio replied. There is a financial money war. There's a technology war. There's a geopolitical wars. There are many more military wars. Then came his more unsettling assessment. The U.S. itself isn't immune. We have a civil war of some sort, which is developing in the United States and elsewhere. We are where there are unreconcilable differences, Dalio said. He outlined two paths the country could take. The first, more hopeful scenario, is one in which Americans rise above it and realize that our common good is going to necessitate us dealing with it so that what works for most people is going to work. But he also admitted that may be a little bit idealistic. The second is far bleaker. I think there's conflicts will become tests of power by each side. It's a stark warning, especially from someone who also cautioned earlier in the interview that our power to hurt each other has never been greater. This isn't the first time Dalio has sounded the alarm about America's internal fractures. In a recent post on X, he wrote, from studying 50-plus civil wars and revolutions, it became clear that the single most reliable leading indicator of civil war revolution is bankrupt government finances combined with big wealth gaps. So if this guy knew what led to revolutions, what led to civil war, and that's true, that's how a lot of empires ended. That's how the Roman Empire fell. That's how the French Revolution, that's how the American Revolution started. That they defied against the aristocrats. They defied against the powerful, wealthy elite to revolutionize themselves and liberate themselves to form their own society. If he knows that, then why is he still contributing to the billionaire class perpetuating the eventful civil war that's incoming? Why would he still contribute to that? Why would he still be part of that? Like, it just seems so crazy. You know what's going to happen. You know that the chaos is coming. You're even stating this in an interview. But you're still gonna screw over people. You're still gonna be part of the same scumbag criminal elite class that purposely wants us to be in a civil war. They purposely are bringing people together to a violent assault on each other. Purposely. Goes on to say the national debt has climbed $37.92 trillion with a debt to GDP ratio of 125%, up from 100% a decade ago. So Trump's not saving the country. I hate to burst the bubble for people. Trump's not saving the country. Trump is facilitating the exact same plot lines that Joe Biden, Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, either way you go. And this is where I said, electorally, it does not matter. Electorally, your vote does not count. Because no matter who you vote for, you're still going to get the same scum. No matter who you vote for, you always get Ronald Reagan. Just the same in Canada. No matter who you vote for, you're still going to get the WEF. It doesn't matter because they have taken over the entire parliamentarian of Canada. They have taken over the entire White House and Congress of America. They have taken over countries. And that is why things are going to the direction of a revolution. Because when you go and tip the scales further and further in that decline, when you have more and more Americans who can't afford food, who can't afford necessities, who can't afford a $400 emergency, who go bankrupt when they visit the hospital, when they're dying on the streets, when they're being told to hunker down during COVID and go screw yourselves, when they're being told they're better off dead than alive, that's what's going to lead to a revolution. And it's tipping more in that direction as time is going on, and people are realizing that. People are coming to conclusion that no matter who you vote for, you're going to get screwed. So there's no point electorally to save you, but there is a motion to get us together, to come on common causes and fight the demons, the psychoticness of the system that's purposely vetted against us. Where was I here? Diallo was warned that when the debt rises relative to income, it's like plague in the arteries, eventually choking off spending. Meanwhile, wealth inequality has ballooned. The wealthiest 1% of Americans now hold 31% of the nation's net worth, up from 22.8% in 1989. By contrast, the bottom 50% watched their share shrink from 3.5% to just 2.5% over the same period, Federal Reserve data shows. Those widening gaps, combined with rising fiscal strain, are precisely the kind of warning signs Diallo says often precedes civil wars and revolutions. If this warning was you on edge and wondering how to protect your wealth in turbulent times, it may be worth considering assets that can help weather a crisis. So it goes on. It's a very long article. But basically, it's a warning to his billionaire buddies that, hey, the peasants aren't exactly taking this line down. That this creation of this technocracy, the stoke to feudalism, not sitting well with a lot of people. There are some people out there. There are some people that are, cheering on Palantir, that they're cheering on Peter Thiel and the PayPal mafia, and saying how transformative the country is going to be, and anyone that disagrees with it is obviously some woke lefty lunatic. You hear those people, but I would say majority of the people are not taking this line down because they're realizing what Trump is doing is no different than what Kamala Harris would have done. It's no different than what Joe Biden was doing. It's no different than any of these people. They would have done the exact same thing because it's a continuation. Anytime you vote for a new president or a new prime minister, it's a continuation of the status quo system that has eroded countries. It has eroded the fundamentals of our countries. That's why a central banker who came out of nowhere is our prime minister in Canada. That we have no idea where he came from, that he almost bankrupted the Bank of England purposely. That's what the former Prime Minister, Liz Truss, said on camera. And we still elected him. Why? Because people were tricked into this phony trade war that we know is made up, that we know that they're purposely continuing to legislate this as much as possible so that this trade war would transform the Canadian economy into a technological feudalist state, which is exactly what Mark Carney wants, exactly what the WF wants, exactly what Trump is trying to perpetuate with Palantir. So no matter who you get, you're getting this cabal of evil aristocrats, these oligarchs, these globalists that don't give a damn about you. They don't give a damn about you. And just to remind people, we've shown this many times before. I just want to highlight again that there was a document. There was a document passed around by the RCMP that proves that Canada is screwed. That our GDP, our economy, our society, our culture, our crime, everything is being screwed over by the takeover of the WF globalists. And this proves that the RCMP were trying to hide this document because they warn that Canadians might revolt if they knew how this country is being completely destroyed, how this country is completely demised against Canadians, against the interest of this nation. And it says right from the get-go, this is from the National Post, right from the get-go, the report authors warned that whatever Canada's current situation, it will probably deteriorate further in the next 5 years. So they know that Canadians are not going to take this well. Just like Americans know they're not going to stand by the further destruction of their country. And that's why the billionaire class want to put out censorship. They want to hide information away from people. They want to lock people up. They want to, deport people that are critical of their fan Israel, because a lot of their money, a lot of their assets are being transferred to Israel. They don't want to expose the criminality of their war profiteering, criminality of the exploitation of people in Palestine and elsewhere. It's a slew of criminals. It's a slew of criminals. And if you ever read Whitney Webb's book, which I highly recommend people check it out, One Nation Under Blackmail, you understand how countries run, how countries facilitate, or even go watch the movie Network. Because that also explains how the world actually functions. You don't have countries, you don't have governments, you have a cabal of evil, sinister MFers at the top and the international transfer of dollars. They don't recognize countries. They don't recognize land masses. They don't recognize different cultures in society. That's why they're able to have open borders without hesitation. Because they just assume that people are just going to transfer in from all elsewhere and just assimilate into whatever culture need be. And not worry about, housing and hospitalization and services that are needed and necessary when there's an uptake in the population. So, Ryan Mata, who does really good work. He's an investigative journalist. He's really up on the Charlie Kirk investigation and elsewhere. He put this out, which I thought was fascinating. He says, this is a warning to every American citizen. Our intelligence agencies are actively working on starting a civil war in America. If this government shutdown continues and SNAP benefits run out, there will be riots in every single major city. So this could be intentional, is what he's saying. It could be intentional, which we've always known that they've wanted destruction. They want chaos. That's why, they made everything a left versus right issue. That's why wokeism exists. That's why they want to, segregate people based on race and gender and sexual orientation. That's why all that cultivates, because it further divides people so that you can't come together. You can't come to alliances, and you be angered at your neighbors, your friends, and your family over the people that are actually screwing you. It's a major distraction that's going to lead to the just deterioration of society. So this is what Ryan Mata had to say about it. It's very interesting.
So what if I told you that our intelligence agencies were literally going to hospitals and recruiting mental patients to come out and join the Antifa protests and start riots? Would you believe me? Buckle up, folks. It's about to get real. All right, folks, you guys want to buckle up for this one. We had to throw an upper lip or dipper shit's about to get serious. So Trump's obviously the con man, right? And this is all one big ploy. But it's funny because he's getting played by his own party, and the Democrats are running circles around him because he's a con man. He converted to Judaism, okay? So he's obviously not a Christian anymore. God's not looking out for him, and he sure as hell ain't looking out for America. So Queenie, she goes by @QueenieNJ88 over on X, and she says she's part of the Moms for Liberty crew. She runs a chapter, so this isn't just some random person. She's also a journalist. So she says, Ryan, quickly, I just wanted to pass off firsthand information regarding the mass protests and people fighting in the streets. So today I was at a mental health facility while I was sitting there and I overheard a mental health community group therapy in the room right next to me. She said, I started listening closer and I heard the caseworker heading the group of about 12 mentally disabled people and what they were talking about. She said they were talking about the EBT and SNAP benefits shutting off for some of them and the government shutdowns. And they were saying that it was all Trump's fault. Then speaking about President Trump and how he's a bad man, etc. Basically hyping these mentally ill individuals into anger and yelling. The caseworker was recruiting the most vulnerable people that are now going to go out in the streets and cause harm to themselves and others, causing problems for police and joining the Antifa chaos. She says, I believe that this is much bigger than just in this facility. I overheard all this. And she said, these groups do this multiple times a day, all week long, and they influence people to hate Trump and anyone that voted for Trump and to go out and cause chaos, and they will get arrested or hurt, and it doesn't matter because, well, they just say that they're mentally ill and they're mental patients, but in reality, it's all being done on purpose. This is why we are seeing heavy mental illness out on the streets with these protests. The mental health facilities are recruiting as many people as they can. She said, I'm from New Jersey in Bergen County, or in the Bergen County area. She said, I'm a journalist, and I'm a journalist at Moms for Liberty, District 39 captain, and a mom. I am honestly scared for the future. I need this to go viral, and I don't have the reach like you do. Please look into this and see how bad it is. This is not just Antifa out there. It's brainwashed, mentally ill people. If you need to contact me for more details, just hit me back. Thanks for investigating the truth. God bless you. And she put her name down there. I don't want to dox her, give her name out. But anyways, long story short, right? This is the shit that we're dealing with, right? This is our intelligence agency PSYOPs. This is Game Plan 101. This would be right par for the course for our intelligence agencies. We all see it's all happening. But at the end of the day, it's Trump's gosh damn fault. He surrounded himself with a swamp. He didn't drain the swamp. He didn't eradicate any deep state players. Elon Musk gave him the keys to the Lambo and he spit in Elon Musk's face. Elon Musk was sleeping on the gosh damn floor, giving him all the everything that he needed. Follow the money. We are always be told follow the money, right? Follow the gosh damn money, and Elon laid out the groundwork. Trillions of dollars being laundered and stolen of our tax dollars and not one gosh damn person arrested. It would have led back to the corrupt judges. It would have led back to the corrupt politicians, but it would have taken down all of his Israeli buddies, all of the top Jewish players, the top upper echelons that cause all of this, that are behind all of this, that control our intelligence agencies, that control our politicians. So we're up shit's creek without a paddle, folks. Nobody's coming to save us. I keep trying to tell you this. Our intelligence agencies have compromised everybody. Every politician, every media outlet, every big tech organization, all of it. We are not in good shape, okay? My name's Ryan Matta. You guys know what time it is. We out!
There you go. That's pretty alarming. And again, does not surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. The more I see about this, like, it's scary to me that I'm not shocked anymore about stuff like this. And I saw this, even just with the No Kings protests that happened recently, and we saw people cover it. We covered it a bit here on this channel. You've seen other people. I think Russ Dobler went to the No Kings protests in New York City, and you could see that this is not organic. This is not, a protest in which people actually gave a damn about issues. These aren't cognitive people that looked into things, looked into the matter, and actually had a purpose. They were just there because they were told to be there. They were told that this is the right thing to do, that everyone had to be angered towards Trump. There was even No Kings protests in Toronto. And I laughed at that. As a Canadian, I laughed at that and said, first of all, do we have any influence on American politics? No. Second, if you want to talk about Kings, look no further than the parliamentarian structure that we have right now, in which the fact that Mark Carney is acting like a supreme ruler over the Canadian interest. That, to me, is a king. That, to me, is problematic. And also the fact that the Canadian government had to be sworn in by King Charles himself, because we're still sworn in by the Kingdom of England. So, the whole thing is psychotic. The whole thing is a scheme. The whole thing is a psyop. And that's what they're trying to prove here, is that all these protests, all this rioting, even the stuff on social media that I've seen constantly, it's not organic. It doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel like people are actually cognitively thinking about this. They're just copying and pasting what they heard from mainstream media, what they're hearing from think tanks, what they're hearing from other people, and they're just going with the flow because, why would you exile yourself? Because if you actually thought clearly and actually had your own independent thoughts, oh my God, you might be ostracized out of the cool kids club. That's what a lot of people are feeling. So they're going with the flow. They're going with the flow when it comes to Israel, when it comes to Trump, when it comes to MAGA. That's why you see so many people, bashing people on food stamps to say like, oh, they're a bunch of lazy lunatics. When in actuality, the real moochers of society are the people that stole the taxpayer money that Doge was supposed to accumulate and send back to the people. And as Ryan Mata explained, it was a complete psyop because Elon Musk gave the tools to expose the corruption and bring that money back to the people. But what did the Trump administration do? They pulled that money towards and spent it on the Pentagon, to the most corrupted entity within the United States, the Pentagon, that has failed every audit they've ever received. But of course, people are angry at SNAP recipients and saying that, well, it's not in our Lord's interest. That I don't know why people are talking about Christian values. As if Jesus didn't care about the poor people. He cared about the money changers. That's lunacy. That is brainwash. That is cult behavior coming from these people. I know Russ Dobular talks about peasant mindset, but I don't want to use that term because that's his phrase. That's his coined phrase. But that is cult behavior. That is cult behavior. And a lot of it comes from this. A lot of it comes from groups that are orchestrated by insiders infiltrating these organizations, and then they do the stuff. Look at Black Lives Matter. It started off as an organic organization that actually cared about something, and then guess what? It got completely taken over. They had insiders go in and counteract the narrative to say that, oh, no. In order to have Black Lives Matter, you have to burn down buildings. You have to completely be racist against other people while claiming that they're being racist towards you. Like, it's just complete opposite to what the actual initiative was. Same with DSA, same with, all these different movements. And you go back to what the former FBI director said on camera when it comes to these intelligence agencies, their number one priority is to dismantle any political organization, grassroots organization that challenges the status quo, whether it be left or right wing. That's their entire job. That's their entire reason of existence. Their number one priority. It's not to save people. That's for sure. Not to make things secure, because we're less secure now than we were 20, 30 years ago. So it's obviously not to secure people. It's not there for safety. It's not there for precaution. It's there to disrupt the ability that the peasants, that the ordinary people, the common folk, organize together, find commonality, and take down the system. And they want to dismantle that. So that's what the intelligence agencies are there for. And that's why they get a bunch of lunatics to rally up these just absolute mindsets, the dissident of just absolute buffoonery, so they can go and demonize and attack other people that are outside this organization, which is absolute crazy. But, it just goes to show you that as we're seeing more and more destruction, as we're seeing the government still shutting down, we're still seeing, people brutalizing each other, beating each other on the streets, turning everything against each other, that it could lead to something worse. It could lead to something worse. And I am someone that condones violence. I am someone that, strongly opposes political violence. I mean, we saw what happened with Charlie Kirk. We've seen what happened with MLK and JFK. Like, I strongly condone that. But I think now more than ever is more than the opportunity, more of the time to come together, put our differences aside, find commonality, and come together as people. Not just, left wing and right wing, or liberals and conservatives, or, MAGA and not MAGA, but come together as people, come together as citizens, because we all need the same basic necessities to survive in our countries. And we all have a common enemy. When you follow the money, you all have a common enemy. Now, he mentions Israel, which there could be an argument to be made about that. But the most common enemy is the state itself. The most common enemy is the White House, is the politicians, is the corporations, the top 1% that are purposely antagonizing against the peasants, because they want to destroy your ability to fight back and turn everything into a totalitarian, feudalist, technological feudalist state to penalize against you. And you got to fight back before that occurs more and more so. They're already taking the steps, but before it becomes too late, people need to realize that and come together on those terms.